Welcome to the Still Plays with Cars Awards. Today I look back at every car I've owned in the order I've owned them, each rated with brutal, white-hot honesty with emojis. Cars I remember fondly get a smiley face, ones I do not, a frowny, and ones I'm ambivalent towards get a meh.
Boring.
Now, there were other cars over the years in my name that were my wife or our son's cars, but to keep this video as short as possible, I'll stick with vehicles I deem simply my car. At the end, I'll hand out Still Plays with Cars awards to the best and worst cars I've owned, the car I'm most ambivalent towards, the one I hated the most, and lastly, but not leastly, my favorite car of all time. We've got a lot to cover here, so let's get at it. 1974 Mercury Comet. Yeah, I know. What kind of a first car is one of these for a dyed-in-the-wool car guy? Mercury's version of the Ford Maverick, while the two-door versions of these cars have become somewhat iconic of late. The four-door sedans, no. Especially the big bumper ones made after 1973 and 74 like I had. 1975 Chrysler Cordoba. Despite no Corinthian leather and being the punchline to many jokes about 1970s pop culture, what I refer to as the Cordoba is what I call in certain circles my second first car, if that makes any sense. Well, it does to me. 1982 Buick Riviera. With a driving record full of tickets and accidents and having to replace the Cordoba after I wrecked it, I couldn't afford the insurance on anything that I would have to have a loan on, and rather than buy something practical, I bought a 1982 Buick Riviera. Motor Trend magazine gave Buick their Car of the Year award for this iteration of the Riviera when it debuted in 1979. Keep in mind they also awarded the Chevrolet Vega and Citation the same honors. A young man driving an old man's car, that was a thing to a certain degree back in the day. Ryan Gosling's character, Seb, drove one in La La Land, so I guess I was ahead of the curve. 1990 Chevrolet Lumina Euro 3.1. Chevrolet's version of the famous or infamous GM10 or W-body platform, the Euro was the only car I've ever had that I bought brand new. I thought it quite the cool little car. Mine was black, and if you can believe it, in the 4 years I owned it, I didn't have a single problem with it. 1994 Chevrolet Lumina Z34. After 4 years with the Euro, though, I grew tired of its sturdiness and dependability and traded it in on a Lumina Z34. A what? Lumina Z34s were the top-of-the-line Lumina coupes in the early 90s, and to show you how badly I wanted one, I used the trade-in value of the Euro as a down payment on a lease on the Z34. I didn't become financially prudent overnight, kids. To make matters worse, I never thought the Z34 was that much of an improvement over the Euro, and from the moment I drove it home, I was struck with a major case of buyer's remorse. Spoiler alert, buyer's remorse is a recurring theme here. 1997 Chevrolet Monte Carlo LS. Once you get on that damn leasing merry-go-round, it can be hard to get off it. After the lease on the Z34 ran out, I leased a 97 Chevrolet Monte Carlo LS just like this one. These cars were updated versions of the GM10 platform, and despite having significantly less go than the Z34, the 97 Monte was a good car. I bought the lease out on it and held on to it for more than 8 years. Slowly but surely, I began to see the get-off-the-leasing merry-go-round light. 1986 Pontiac Grand Prix Brougham. Part of GM's class of 1978 downsize intermediates, which I've never been all in on. I bought one of these as a station car, a car Long Island Railroad commuters used to just get to the train station and back. Oh, I had big plans to turn it into a muscle car, but it didn't happen. Shoot, I never even played it, although I did make a buck or two when I sold it. 1978 Dodge Magnum XE. A car guy has to have an old car, right? I bought the Magnum on the cheap, mistake, and restored it, sort of, making it into a Cordoba 2 of sorts. You wouldn't be alone if you never heard of these cars, let alone having seen one. Dodge only made these for model years 1978 and 79, the Magnum replacing the Cordoba clone Dodge Charger in Dodge's lineup. 2001 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS. Not only did I get off the leasing merry-go-round when I bought out the lease on the 97 Monte Carlo, I replaced it with a low-mileage 5th-generation Monte Carlo SS in January of 2005. Chevrolet came out with these cars in 2000 with styling meant to emulate the swoopy suitcase fenders of Monte Carlos of yesteryear. It's a look you either love or you want to rinse your eyes out with Mr. Clean after seeing it. These cars are not everyone's cup of antifreeze. 2002 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. About a year and a half later, having moved to Dallas, Texas, I ditched the 01 Monte Carlo for my dream car. Without question, one of the coolest cars I've ever owned. The Z was fast as hell, but was uncomfortable, had an unusual seating position. It handled great, but was not all that satisfying to drive and had a number of electrical issues. What is it they say? Don't meet your idols? Buyer's remorse, take two. 2002 Ford Taurus SEL. The only other four-door sedan I ever drove as a daily. The Taurus was my wife's car that I took over when I traded the Camaro Z28 in on a 2004 Chevrolet Tahoe. That would be her daily. Happy wife, happy life, as they say. Wasn't the sacrifice it may have seemed to be. The Taurus was a comfortable, capable cruiser that got more than 30 miles per gallon highway. 2002 Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS. After more than 3 years with the Taurus, I traded it in on this bad boy that had only 14,000 miles on it, although it was 8 years old at the time. I paid cash for it too. How Dave Ramsey of me. Despite what I thought were very hillbilly graphics, this was a good car. I loved how comfortable that 01 Monte SS was, and I thought it handled great too. Now, granted, bit of a risk paying cash for a car that wasn't worth half what I paid for it, but it worked out in the end. I held onto this car for nearly 13 years. 2005 Ford Mustang GT. Apparently, I don't learn from my mistakes. This was to be my summer car, with my then-aging Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo being my winter beater. Just like the Camaro Z28, this car was cool as heck, but not a good daily driver. Oh God, was it fast, but it was uncomfortable, and again, like the Z28, not a satisfying driver overall. Life got in the way, making having two dailies not the best idea either. Hit that buyer's remorse gong one more time, please. 2009 Toyota RAV4. All good things come to an end, and when the old tin worm got the best of the Dale, I replaced it with this rolling dumpster I bought for a song from a female accountant friend. I had to replace the water pump and the front control arms, but it hasn't been all bad. After all, it is a Toyota, and despite knocking on the door of 300,000 miles, I bought it with over 200. It's still bolted together better than most anything else its age. I don't think there are too many Chevrolet Equinoxes or Ford Escapes out there this old with this kind of mileage. 43 years of driving and just 14 cars. I know you'd thought there'd be more, but that number does climb to almost 30 if you count the cars my wife and I bought together. So let's get to the award winners, or losers. Now, I've had a number of rolling stinkers, but the award for the worst car I've ever owned goes to my 1982 Buick Riviera. I had the Riv when I first met my wife, and although she hated that car, she stuck with me. I had it for just under 2 years, and I swear it couldn't go 2 weeks without needing some major repair. From the cooling system to electrical transmission to the brakes, I've never had another car I used as a daily as wholly unreliable as that car. Didn't handle all that well either and was grossly underpowered. Silver lining, for a heavy luxury car, it was pretty good on gas. The least interesting of all these awards is next, that being the award for the best car or vehicle I've ever owned, and that goes to... Let me sip some milk that's at room temperature first. The award goes to my 2009 Toyota RAV4. I've never had a vehicle so singularly practical, not to mention so rugged and durable. I bet if I shot the engine with a gun multiple times, it would keep on running. Yeah, it's that good. Again, nearly 300,000 miles on it, and its magnificent 3.5-liter, 269 horsepower 2GR FEV6 still pulls like a freight train. Fun facts: with a documented 0 to 60 time of 6.3 seconds, the 2009 Toyota RAV4 V6 was the fastest accelerating car Toyota sold in 2009. Now the award for the car I'm most ambivalent towards goes to... Gosh, I've had a number of these, especially the family-centric stuff my wife and I bought together. But the award has to go to that 2002 Ford Taurus. Congratulations, Ford, you built a solid and reliable sedan with a good powertrain that handled well, but was all but invisible. An emotion-free sedan that did everything and anything we asked of it, except be memorable in any way. Now we're getting to the good stuff. The award for the car I hated the most goes to my first car, my 1974 Mercury Comet. You know, bad enough I had a Mercury Comet as a first car, but one of the four-door sedans, and one with a vinyl roof. I hated that car so much that I got rid of it and didn't have a car to replace it. I went back to riding a bike. That's when you know it's really bad, like when you ditch someone you're dating and you don't have somebody waiting in the wings. It's not me, kiddo. It really is all about you. Although just 8 years old when I first got it and having under 80,000 miles on its ticker, the Comet broke down almost as much as my Riviera did. Meanwhile, the whole car itself looked like something the Grand Marshal of the Dork Parade wouldn't be caught dead in. I credit the trauma of the Comet with my lifelong aversion to four-door sedans. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. My favorite car of all time that I've owned? The envelope, please. Well, no surprise here if you know me. The award goes to my 1975 Chrysler Cordoba. Now, understand this award has in no way anything to do with how good this car was. For certain, it was not a good car in the modern sense of the word. Wasn't that good in 1975 either, and it let me down time and time again. I swear it was as reliable as a coworker who drinks on the job, but not as bad as the Riviera was. It was also as practical as a bunch of Tupperware bowls with mismatched lids. And many folks failed to see anything remotely attractive about these derivatively styled Chevrolet Monte Carlo wannabes. But to me, especially at that time in my life, I was all of 19 when I bought it for $750. For somebody who grew up wanting for literally everything, the Cordoba was a sign that things in my life were on an upwardly mobile trajectory, even if I had no idea of it at the time. Life hasn't always been easy, though, as life with the Cordoba was far from drama-free, but the Cordoba is my favorite car I've ever owned. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and tell everybody about your cars below as well.